podcast, and it has been a little cold down here in Texas this week. And,
just a little bit.
Yeah, man, it's yeah, man. When you walk outside and you're it's 19 degrees and the wind hits your face and it feels like someone's stabbing you, and then you go to take a pee and it's like looking for a turtle. It's not good weather.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's a good way to put it. And then you can't step outside without busting your ass.
And then it got like a little icy and a little cool, and then it warmed up for a day, and now here this evening it's gonna drop back down to like 28 tonight or something. It's like, what? No wonder I sound hoarse and I can't talk, and my allergies are acting kind of weird. And because we have literally gone through all 4 seasons in the last 3 days
for real
in Texas. I mean, we've had summer, winter, fall, and spring in the last 4 days, and double winter with cold. I mean, I like the cold, don't get me wrong, but in Texas, we're not made for 20-degree weather, at least where we live in Texas, maybe more North Texas, but our bodies just aren't inclined to agree with it. And that stuff they say about when you get older, man, you feel it in your bones, man. I never believed that stuff, man, but now I do, man. My bones were hurting. It's like, what is wrong with me? It's like, it's cold weather. It's like, it makes me creak.
Yeah, man. It's especially for me, it makes my knee a little, I could feel it in my knee, the one I had surgery on. That's for sure. But it's that thing that comes with age, man. Just, the cold affects you a little bit different.
Yeah, I suppose so. And man, yeah, but we survived it. It's nothing like 2 years ago where we had all the power outage and water lines down and things like that. That was all pretty horrible in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
At least this was just a little hard freeze. It didn't seem to do too much damage, at least from what I saw.
Nah.
And now we've had our 4 days of winter in Texas. We can move on and get ready for springtime. Well, then again, we might have some more cold weather, but not a whole lot, hopefully. So, But other than that, man, I'm gonna straight up admit this might be the most tired I've done doing that podcast in a while, but I'm gonna do my best to put on a good show for all you listening folk, and I will push through it.
There we go, man.
I will strive.
You gotta be like Rocky in the snow and Rocky 4, just chugging through the snow, man.
I guess.
Make it to the top of that mountain.
I cannot go up any fucking mountain right now. My knees would tell me hell no. Sit your old ass down, motherfucker. No.
It's that we talked about Family Guy last episode briefly in the pop culture segment, and there's an episode where Peter is trying to sprint. He's playing like a baseball game, and his muscles, he goes to his muscles like it's a power plant, and they're like, what's a red light's going off, and it's like, what's he trying to do? And he's like, he's trying to run, and he's like, no, we don't have enough power for that. He's like, well, why does he think he can run? He hasn't had any water all day. And he goes, well, he thinks that there's water in the hot dogs, and he's like, nope. Oh, he's like, I'm going to have to call for a full muscle cramp. And then he pulls a lever, and Peter goes, and falls over, just keels over, grabs his leg.
Oh, man. And
I'm like,
that's
yes.
right, man. We brought that up on Pop Culture. We got the top 5 returning today.
Yes.
Later in the episode. It's kind of a low-key top 5 for our first one of the year, but we're going to have some fun with that. I said last week on the show we're going to do it once a month, but it might be a kind of every other week thing. So I have some ideas to do with it as we move towards our official 10th anniversary. Some fun stuff to do with it. So, but that'll be in the show later today, the first top 5 of 2024. I'm still getting used to saying that, 2024.
Yeah, I have to.
It's kind of weird. And then it just also just means I'm a year closer to 50, goddammit.
I'm still getting mixed up with 2023. Like, I have to put down dates and stuff a lot, and every once in a while I'll accidentally put a 3 instead of a 4, and it's screws me up.
I mean, I don't even know what day it is half the time, and then I'm like,
you're like Kyle Reese.
Remember the year? It's like, okay,
what day is it? What year?
Well, I usually know what day of the week it is, but dates
Yeah.
though. I didn't even know it was January 19th. I'm like, what? I would have said 17th, 16th. I didn't know. It's like,
You're like, shit, we're
unless
halfway through the first month already.
Like if I have a doctor's appointment, things like that, I usually can remember. But sometimes I just go through the weeks. I'm like, I don't know what day it is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if one of the kids isn't doing sports. Like once we start baseball back up here soon, then I pay a little more attention to, dates and things like that. But these weeks to just sort of flow through. I don't know, whatever day it is, we go. But it hasn't been an all work week despite being tired. I was able to watch some things and I want to mention, man, we talked about Godzilla -1 was our 2023 movie of the year. It was a unanimous choice by both of us. And we talked about in Japan, they did a special release where the film was re-released in black and white. They call it -1 minus color. And to make it look like the old 1954 original Godzilla film. And they went in and they didn't just monochrome wipe this film. They actually went in scene by scene and made it look like legitimate old school black and white. And it's going to have an American release next week in January 26th. They'll play in theaters for 1 week. You'll be able to go see the minus color version of Godzilla -1 in your local theater. So check that out if you wish. I'm going to go see it. I think I'm kind of excited to see it in the black and white version. Such an amazing movie. So worth seeing if you didn't, because they're going to pull it from theaters officially February 1st. And but this movie is an amazing accomplishment. It was supposed to be just 1 week only. It came out December 1st, and here it is 2 months later. Stayed in theaters. Has made over $51 million domestically in the U.S. It's fixing to hit $100 million worldwide. The most successful live action Japanese film in America ever made. Fifth highest grossing foreign language film in America. Just quite an achievement for a monster movie.
I guess it's in the same realm as Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth, strangely, is like 6th or 7th.
Weird.
I know Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is number 1. Let's say like Life is Beautiful is up there in top 2 or 3, and a couple other ones. But Pan's Labyrinth, I think, was like 6 or 7. It's
still pretty good.
Yeah. But pretty awesome to see the success of Godzilla -1 in theaters, and it's just helped the big guy make such a huge comeback. And I would argue that his comeback kind of started in 2014 with the release of the American MonsterVerse films, and then we got King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong, and then the Monarch TV series, and then we in a couple months we have Godzilla versus X Kong: The New Empire. So it's a good time to be a big G fan, and I've always been a fan of Godzilla, but man, lately I've really gone down the rabbit hole, and that's one of the things I watched this week. I went ahead and added another movie to that list. Actually, 2. I went ahead and watched Son of Godzilla because I'm trying to watch them in order. And Son of Godzilla is where the series starts getting a little goofy, a little silly. But the strange thing about Son of Godzilla I was reading is that it's one of the more popular ones ever released in Japan because it's very kid accessible. So parents in Japan like the film. They can show it to their kids. It's more kid friendly. Godzilla's son is one of the more popular monsters on usual rankings and stuff like that because he appeals to the children. So I thought that was interesting because the movie's kind of goofy, kind of silly, but I can see why it has massive kid appeal. And then the follow-up to that is Destroy All Monsters. And so at this point in the Godzilla series, it had already gotten a little weird with aliens bringing Ghidorah to Earth and things like that. But Destroy All Monsters, it really gets kind of weird. It's like it jumps like 20 years in the future, and all the monsters are living on this island. All of a sudden, there's these new monsters you've never seen before. And then there's these aliens using these control devices to control the monsters to attack American cities. And then they have to go in and they find the devices and they reverse the devices to make the monsters attack back against the aliens. It's just really, you can tell it's getting into the late 60s, early 70s Godzilla fan.
Yep.
And because my 8-year-old is in the room right now playing PlayStation not too far from me, I'm not going to say what that means exactly, but I think if you understand what the late 60s and early 70s were, you get why these films are getting a little bizarre.
Mm-hmm. You ever heard the song Strawberry Fields Forever?
That's
that'll
right.
give you a Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds.
These people were sitting back and writing these scripts going, oh, that sounds like a good idea. And they were being very happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean not entertaining by any means. They're just get a little bizarre in those late 60s, early 70s. So, so next on the list is Godzilla versus Dora. That would be the next on the list. And if I'm continue to watch them in order. So, I've been enjoying watching those and just going down that rabbit hole, trying to finish all 30 Godzilla films. I mean, I've seen some of them, so I may not watch some of the more new, like most of the Millennium Era ones from Godzilla 2000 up. I've seen all those pretty recently, so I may not rewatch those in my order. But I've only got about 4 or 5 films left in the Showa era, so almost done. And for people who don't know, when they hear Showa era, they define those films by who's the emperor at the time in Japan. And the emperor was Showa, and that's why they call it the Showa era until his era was over. And he, I don't know, I guess he passed away, or I don't know I don't think emperors retire. I think I could be wrong on this, but I think they're just like kings or queens. Once they pass on, there's a new emperor in Japan. And then the Heisei era was the emperor during 85 to like the late 90s films. And now the recent ones, they call them the Millennium era. And I don't know if that's because obviously the emperor's name's not Millennium, but I guess that's just what they called the 2000s to 2014 or whatever. And now there's a different name for the new era with Shin Godzilla -1. I can't remember what it is, but I thought it was interesting. That's how they define the different eras of Godzilla fans. And if we had Long on the show, he would know a lot more about that than I do. But a brief explanation of why those films are called, are those different things. So that's really about all I watched this week. But I've also been playing. This is a game I bought like 2 years ago, but I never really got into it just because of life and things. But I've been playing Ghost of Tsushima on my PlayStation, which is a PlayStation exclusive game. And man, this incredible game. It's like you're a samurai protecting your lands from invasion, and it's an open world game, and it's a lot like Red Dead Redemption, only with cowboys. It's samurais, and there's something extremely satisfying about this game, slicing and dicing people and cutting them up and doing assassinating people, and you're as a samurai, you're not supposed to assassinate people, so it goes against your honor, but it's part of the game because it's all leading to what you have to do to protect your lands and your family. And really been playing that a lot this week, and enjoying the heck out of it. Man, it's such a good game. And I knew it would be a good game. I just never had time to sit down and play it. And now I've had some time to sit down and finally really get into Ghost of Tsushima and really enjoying that. And I know I'm a little bit behind the times I'm playing that game, but I'm there, damn it. I'm finally there playing Ghost of Tsushima. And it's a good game. And I'm trying to think if I watched anything else this week. I feel like I did, but I definitely watched those couple of Godzilla films. And
you said Monarch, right? How'd you like
the
last episode?
I did finish Monarch. That's right. I since last we talked, the Monarch concluded, and man, I liked the way it ended. I thought it was satisfying. I mean, it was kind of left open where they could do a second season, but at the same time, I don't feel I think they told enough story to bridge the gap between the two films, and it ended with a interesting twist. And I don't want to spoil too much for people who are still getting caught up, but it makes you wonder where the ending takes place at. Because I will give a small spoiler. There's a brief appearance by Kong at the end, and you're like, okay, when is this? And then it's kind of to be continued. So you don't know if it takes place right before Kong versus Godzilla, or if it takes place after, or if it takes place. Because there's some time jumping in this show. So you have to kind of, I'm trying to say this non-spoilers as I can, because I know you haven't finished it yet, Matt, and I want you to finish it. And but it was good, man. The finale was very satisfying. So I definitely recommend Monarch if you're a fan of Godzilla and the series. And I know the show took some flack for being not enough monsters in it, but that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about these people and who developed the Monarch and that company. And I thought it was well done. And Kurt Russell is great in the show. And there's some pretty deep emotional resonance in the final episode that I was not expecting, but was a nice touch, because you think it's all about monsters and scary stuff, but there's some deep emotional connection in that final episode that was very fitting to the show. And I hope it gets a second season, though. I really do. I know they're talking about it, and I think Apple is waiting for final numbers come in, and hopefully they announce the second season soon. And Kurt and his son have both already said they'd be glad to be back for it if it happens. So we'll see.
Nice. No, man, I definitely need to get caught up. But I did check out some stuff because you had mentioned Yu Yu Hakusho, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna give it a watch. And I watched the first episode.
That reminds me, there is something else I watched. But
what'd you watch?
You mentioned Yu Yu Hakusho. It's an anime I've been watching on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
First off, don't let your kids be in the room when this is on at all.
One of
second, you'll like it. It's ecchi, so it's definitely not for kids. And it's called Prison School. This is the funniest show I've seen in a while too, but also vulgar, doesn't apologize for anything. It's about this all-girls school that decides to let 5 boy students in to try to become co-ed. And so basically they have this secret program that they run where they basically get to make up their own rules despite what the principal says. And they basically put these 5 boys into prison school and do like their own prison after they discover that they're peeping toms. And you can imagine the things that ensue in this show. And when I say that, it's not hentai or nothing like that. It's more played for laughs and tongue in cheek and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of nudity in it that you don't want to have the kids in the room, and plenty of adult stuff. And I'm only about 3 episodes in, but it's hilarious. The shenanigans that occur in the show are just like, wait, did that just happen? And you just have yourself shaking your head and laughing. And it's on Crunchyroll, so it's accessible, but definitely not for kids. And I was just looking for something different to watch, and I came across a list of like 10 great shows you may not have heard of that are on Crunchyroll right now, and that's how I found it. And I was like, we'll watch it.
Nice.
And so Prison School is the name of it, though, but it is on Crunchyroll.
Nice, man. Well, yeah. So I did stick with anime after our our movie last week, and I did check out the live action Yu Yu Hakusho. And it's been out long enough to where I feel like I could talk a little bit about the first episode because that's all I watched.
A month now.
Yeah. So, sorry. The first episode, I think, pretty much wraps up. I feel like almost halfway through season 1, because halfway through season 1, Yusuke Urameshi is basically a ghost, and he's regains his body, and becomes a spirit detective. That's a span of like 10, 12 episodes, I feel like, in itself. And that's basically what the first episode is about. I like that they touch on some of the things that are covered in season 2, like all the men that are trying to create a portal tunnel to Demon World to allow demons in. And there is a possessed human that Yusuke has to fight. And the actor fights just like Yusuke, that, over embellished uppercuts and really, really telegraphed hits, punches that Yusuke throws. If you've seen the anime, the actor that plays Yusuke fights just like him. And I like it so far. I mean, and then the guy that they picked out to be Kuwabara gets his numbskull over macho-ness definitely down. And so that's what I picked up on the first episode. So I feel like they're true to, pretty much the main characters, and looks pretty good so far.
It's interesting because like I'm about 16, 17 episodes into One Piece's anime, right?
Yeah.
And I've already seen the first season of live action. And like the first 17 episodes of the anime are like literally like the first maybe 2 or 2.5 episodes of live action. So it makes you realize how much, and I don't know if you feel like this about Yu Yu Hakusho, how much filler there is in anime. Like you realize after you see a live action version, you're right. That told a good story. You really didn't need all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of filler in One Piece. And I don't know if you feel the same now after watching Yu Yu Hakusho's live action.
There really is. I mean, they have to, And Yu Yu Hakusho is one of the faster paced animes. That's why I feel like it only lasted 4 seasons.
Right.
Is because it wasn't like Dragon Ball Z, where one season was like 40 episodes versus like Yu Yu Hakusho's 10 20.
Now,
So
is the anime streaming now somewhere? I think it's on Crunchyroll now.
I want to say it's on Crunchyroll.
I know for a long time it wasn't streaming because it had something to do with music rights or some BS like that, why you couldn't find it for a while. But I think that all got solved, and I think it's online now.
Yeah. I will say Smile Bomb is a top 5 anime intro. That's my jam as far as like animes go. I may like it better than Dragon Ball Z's Cha-La Head Cha-La. That's how
I call that the enchilada song.
The enchilada song.
It sounds like they're going cha-la-la enchilada. Boys get mad. That's not what it says, Dad.
If I hear that from now on, every time I
hear
that
fucking
song,
enchilada.
I'm gonna be pissed. Like, damn it, Mark! Now I can only hear enchilada whenever I hear that song. I'll shake my fist your way.
That's right. Damn it.
But yeah, I'm excited to check out more episodes. Definitely over the course of the weekend, hopefully, and into next week, and talk about it some more. Other than that, Killers of the Flower Moon was on Apple Plus, and I did check that out. Scorsese's tale of the Osage County nation, and a true story that happened on U.S. soil. It's not very much touched upon. And, it stars Lily Gladstone, Leo DiCaprio, De Niro, and Brandon Fraser is in the movie too. Kind of feels out of place, but he's okay. But it's crazy, watching the movie and you think Leo is the good guy when he's really a bad guy in the movie. De Niro is, of course, and you can kind of tell that by the trailer, but he's really good as a bad guy. I feel like for 3 hours and 40 minutes, it goes by pretty fast. It keeps you engaged. There's a lot going on. So definitely pay attention. I think my wife looked away for a little bit, and I had to be like, well, didn't you just see this happening? You realize what they're doing, right? They're, I don't want to ruin it because it's, some people may have not seen it.
I'm going to try to watch it.
Working their way around it. But it's a movie you definitely need to pay attention to. It's epic. Well, I wouldn't say there's a lot of buildup, I'll say. It's not like Oppenheimer, where it's like there's just this big, boom, literally in Oppenheimer. But here it's a lot of plot, scheme, double cross, and that kind of stuff. And it's it's well done. Scorsese, this could be his last film. You never know. It's like 80 years old, so had to watch it. Definitely had to watch it.
Yeah, no, because he's making the Jesus Christ movie.
He is.
He's making some movie, and then he's got some script apparently they wants to do another one with Leo apparently too. I can't remember what that one is. So I don't think he's done yet.
He's not done. He's still got a few to crank out.
Yeah.
And the wife had not seen The Departed, so I made her watch The Departed. Yeah, and I was like, dude, it's got Mock in there.
That's my favorite Scorsese film.
Yep, I'm recommending him for the Medal of Merit. And then you got Jack Nicholson being fucking vulgar as shit. Movie.
Movie's so good.
Don't you like to put your cock up her ass? I don't know. That's my best Jack Nicholson right now. It's hard to do his voice, but his dialogue's just so fucking left field in that movie. You're just like, what the shit, man? Did they just like, hey, just come up with some fucked up dialogue and say it,
basically.
And say it all the time to Matt Damon and see what he does. See how Matt Damon reacts. But man, that movie's so good.
So
Very.
what did she freak out when Leo went up the elevator and boom?
Yes, she's like, no, and I'm like, yeah, dude, yeah. I was like, but don't worry. It's like you'll feel better in like 5 or 10 minutes. And then Marky Mark's up there and takes care of him. How about
Oh,
them?
so great in theaters. So you hear the whole theater just gasp. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. That's one of Scorsese's best, that's for sure. But yeah, check that out. Revisited that. And man, what else was there? No, I didn't do it. I was going to rent the Marvels. And because
wait for it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was going to rent it so that I could occupy the kids tonight, order a pizza, have a little movie night. And I was like, oh, $20. I wasn't going to buy it, but I was like, $20, that's cheaper than a movie ticket. But then I was like, man, wait like a month and a half. It'll be on
probably less than
Disney
that.
Plus.
2 or 3 weeks, probably. Who knows? Yeah.
Because I kept watching the trailer and I was like, I can't hype myself up for this. And I was like, I just can't. I was like, no, I can't justify $20. $5. If it was $5 already, I'd pay $5 to watch it, but not 20.
Yeah, nah. And speaking of I think I saw Oppenheimer will be, for people who haven't seen it, will be on Peacock like February 2nd, maybe. I might have that date wrong. And then for people that have not seen Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, it will be on Paramount Plus January 25th, so next week.
Nice.
For people that did not get to see those yet. So those are, speaking of waiting for streaming, those are a couple of big movies from last summer. If people haven't seen, they'll be available soon if you have those streaming services. But yeah, I'll watch the Marvels when it hits Disney Plus. I'm not in no hurry to see it. And now my daughter's about to have a panic attack. She doesn't get to see Trolls Band Together soon, but it's supposed to be on Peacock. I read like late February, early March. I said, you can wait. Now, if it drops like $5, maybe I'll rent it for like $5, but I'm not going to pay $20 to rent Trolls Band Together.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. She was like, but I have to go see Godzilla and all these movies. How come I didn't get to see Trolls? I was like, well, it came out while Wyatt was playing baseball. We just didn't have time, and I'm sorry. Maybe you feel like a bad dad because I make her go. She goes, I don't like all those monster movies. I'm like, yeah, but you'll be the cool girl when you grow up. That's what I told her.
Yeah, huh? That's right.
Because you went to see all these cool movies with your brothers and your dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she'll think
Silver
you later,
linings.
Right?
Yeah.
That's right. All right. Well, let's get into today's featured film, which is a movie that came out in 2010 and made a little noise on the international critics associations and a little buzz through streaming services, things like that. And it's a Korean film. And on the surface, this movie feels like kind of a typical, I don't even call it a revenge flick. It's more of a, what would you call it, Matt? More of a...
you could say it's a revenge flick.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies, a payback flick, where the protagonist is what we've seen lately. Like,
right.
You think he's a nobody, but he actually is a somebody.
And that's the thing. This movie precedes John Wick, and it has a protagonist that's in that similar vein. And this, but this movie also, when you get to the end of it, has a much deeper emotional resonance with it.
Yeah,
as the film unfolds. And the name of the movie is The Man from Nowhere. And I saw this a while back, and again, I remember liking it, but I guess it didn't resonate with me enough to completely remember it. And I even picked it up on Blu-ray, like in the $5 bin. I was like, I like this movie. I think I'll grab a copy of it. And then maybe watched it one other time until now. And 13 years later, and I saw it was on Netflix, and I started watching it, and I was like, man, I forgot that this is a really well crafted action film. And with And so I was like, let's do it on the
Well
podcast.
crafted is a good
And
good term for it.
Yeah, it's well acted. It's got an interesting plot that's not always easy to watch, if that's fair to say, because it deals with some heavy shit, man. I mean, it deals with trafficking of children to run drugs, and amongst other things that the film kind of hints at that they might be using these kids for, stealing their body parts to sell them on the black market, their organs and things like that. Some pretty deep stuff, and it's all done through the shadow or through the eyes of a former widower, or not former, or a widower who turns out to be a former Black Ops assassin for the Korean military. And he's just trying to live his life and mind his own business and run a pawn shop. And after we find out later in the film that he had lost his wife and unborn child to some people that wanted revenge on him, that somebody that he may have killed in his assassinations. And so he's just trying to live his life quietly and mind his own business until he gets involved with this little girl who lives next door, and her mom is a drug addict and a hooker, and she's not really taking care of her girls. So the girl's looking for a friend, and
kind of like the mom from The Crow.
Yeah. And he's trying to mind. He befriends her, but at the same time he kind of pushes her away a bit until the mom gets involved with some drug dealers that she owes. I guess I don't know if she owes them money or she owes them drugs because she was running drugs for them, and she ends up stealing from them. So he ends up basically having to defend himself because they come into his pawn shop, and now all of a sudden he's involved in this. And so they kidnap the little girl because they take the little girl basically as payment and kill the mother for the drugs that the mother took. And he's not going to have this. So he's going to go after them for to get the girl back and to save her life because he feels he owes it to her. And we find out that throughout the police doing their investigation, that he's a former Black Ops assassin, and that's why he has no trail, and that's why he is the man from nowhere, but he is from somewhere. And he's a bad dude that you don't want to mess with, as he kills them all.
He
doesn't flinch.
In that scene where they toss him her eyes, and they're like, oh, the girl's in heaven but can't find her mom because she can't see.
Yeah, trying to egg him on.
Yeah, and he draws from the hip and shoots low, so he gets a shot off without them like realizing that he really drew. And he's slowly making his way to have a better line of sight to the exit where these guys are leaving. So it's like his tactics are sound. It's not just a run-of-the-mill action scene. It's well thought out, down to the beginning of the movie where the mom, the junkie mom, is going to steal the drugs, and you could tell she's never handled a taser before. And she shocks the guy in the back of the neck, and she drops the taser. You could tell she's like, probably wasn't expecting that. She's nervous. The actors do a really good job of bringing that physicality to the scene, just, physically showing their emotions as well as, emoting with their face. They're very good with their body too. But yeah, it shows an ugly side of that drug cartel type of mentality. And you've heard these stories before. I know I have, of people, they use dead people to smuggle drugs sometimes.
Right.
And so I saw her body carved up. At first, I thought maybe they were going to plan to use the mom's body to smuggle drugs, but it was really her organs and stuff. It's just crazy. It's kind of bloody, but it's with purpose, and the scenes are, man, about what you would expect if you're used to Korean cinema, or Asian action cinema. And it's pretty gritty, and pretty awesome. And of course, like you said, it's got that emotional aspect too. Yeah, it's one of the best probably that I've seen. It's definitely up there with The Night Comes for Us, probably in that same vein. And I'm not, I just haven't seen a whole lot.
This is grounded a little bit more than Night Comes for Us. Night Comes for Us is definitely more over the top.
Oh, very over the top.
Because by the time you get to like the ninth fight and The Night Comes for Us, you're like, no way this dude would survive. He'd be dead already.
Yeah. I like whenever he takes out a teddy bear, and they expect teddy bear to put up more of a fight, because he puts up a fight with the cops earlier, this big old sumo looking dude, and he just takes him out, no problem.
Yeah.
Very quick. And they just hand him the phone. And I thought they were going to, this is my first time watching it. I thought they were going to be like, okay, come work for us, or the girl gets it kind of thing, because I know sometimes, you see those movies where they're like, you just took out one of my lieutenants, you're working for me now. You're going to fulfill his role.
Right.
And then whenever I don't need you, you're dead.
Yeah. One thing I like about this movie too is I think it's very well acted for a foreign language action film. The little girl's really good in it. The main protagonist, he's really good. And I like the bad guys, the fact they're a little over the top. Like they're really overly confident in themselves. Where it comes apart, like if you read the dialogue and the subtitles, it might seem a little silly. But then I started thinking that, no, it's supposed to be that they're so confident in what they're doing because they've been getting away with it for so long.
Yeah.
The cops didn't touch them. No one messed with them. That they were that's why they were a little goofy. That's what I got out of it, that they're just so confident in this trade they have going on until he shows up and he's like, no, I'm not having it. And he takes them all out. He kills all of them, and he saves the little girl, and he gets out, and he ends up unfortunately having to go to jail at the end because, well, he's not a cop. He can't just go killing all these people legally, but he makes sure that the little girl's taken care of before he goes away. So it has one of those films with a bittersweet ending, but I'm also kind of glad they didn't kill him at the end of the movie, because then I think it would have really been more of a disappointing ending. But you, for being your first time watching it, so you enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, no, it's got, all the action scenes. Like I said, you can tell the actors, and credit to the director too. You got to give that guy credit, but it's like from the stripper, the mom stripper junkie, trying to tiptoe very lightly. It's how close they get and how gritty the camera is and the actual film is. It brings a lot of life and tone to the scene. And the action scenes, the knife fight with the karambit, with the lieutenant that's almost looks like he's a match for our protagonist, but of course he's not. He's the guy, like in the James Bond movie, he'd be the guy with the name tag. He's got to put a little bit of effort in to take him out. He can't just do the one judo chop and take him out. Right. He's going to take quite a few more punches before he goes down. But that's a pretty badass scene with that karambit and the knife play, and their forearms are clashing, and you usually don't see that type of knife fight. It's like you always see in the movie, the guy tries to like grab the knife, or they take their shirt off, and when the guy throws the knife at them, they twist their arm up and try and get the knife away. It's like this is an elongated fight, almost like a fencing match, with the knives, and it obviously took a lot of effort, but it seems like that make this movie unique and make it different, and sets it above a lot of other action films that we may see over here.
Right. And I like too that it's an Asian action film, but it doesn't quite feel like a Hong Kong film, but doesn't quite feel like an American film. It's like it's distinctively Korean in its own style, which it's hard to explain that through words on a podcast. I think that you have to understand the different styles of how the the triads and gangsters are used in a Hong Kong film, or how gangsters are used in an American film, and how they're used in this film. And I felt like it was just different enough to set itself apart from other films in that market, if that makes sense too.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is the actor who played the protagonist, whose character's name was Tae-sik, Won Bin, has not acted again since this movie. He's got a project coming up. But he was just interested. No reason why. He just felt like taking a break. I read something, he felt the film was really intense and it was a lot to work on, and he just needed a break. And he had, I think, young family at home he was taking care of. And he had some popularity in Korea at this point in his career. So, and this movie was very successful for him.
Yeah.
The young girl,
like $500,000, and that made like 44.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
The young girl, So Mi, was only 10 years old when this movie was made, and she's really good in it. But yeah, it was very successful film. Like I said, about $50 million for a very low budget film. But the film doesn't look low budget,
No, it looks solid. It looks like what you normally see from me.
Well, you save money when you dress everybody in black.
Yeah, you do. Have everyone wear the same. You get all those suits at a bundle price,
Right. No, it's true. But no, it is a good, solid action thriller film, and when you start watching it, you might think it's a bit standard, but I think as you get into the film and get deeper, and as you discover who Tae-sik is and his background and why he is, and especially why it's so important for him to save the girl.
Yeah.
When you find out what happened to his wife and his unborn child, it kind of hits you. You're like, man, I can see why he's doing this. He has nothing to live for. He really doesn't. His life to him at this point doesn't mean a lot to him. He's just going through the motions, and he's looking for meaning in his life. And this little girl who he saves gives him that meaning.
Yeah.
To the point that whenever he thinks that she's dead, he almost decides to kill himself until he finds out she's still alive.
Yeah.
And that just shows you that gave him a reason to live. And I think that gives the movie a lot of a deeper meaning than just a standard action film, which is, I think, important. I think you go back to John Woo's films, as we know why Detective Tequila or his character Mickey Mouse and the Killer, Woo always gave his assassins, his detectives, deeper meanings behind their characters. And we even see it in American films. We know that Chad Straczynski is very influenced by these films. He gave John Wick a deeper meaning as to why Wick is doing what he's doing, and I think that's important behind a action star. And I think sometimes you look back and we enjoy those. And I'm not going to knock your boy Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you watch some of those action films from the 80s, and there's not a lot of deep meaning behind those characters. Very
it was
rarely.
A product of its time, and it was the best product of its time.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then you had Woo come along with his films in the late 80s and early 90s and start changing the action genre, and then it carried over into the 90s with American cinema. You could argue, as much as people might complain about Michael Bay, you could argue action films like The Rock and Bad Boys, where you start, these caring about these characters that you watch in the films. They're not just action stars; they're throwaway stars, But a lot of that started with Asian cinema, and it continues into movies like The Man from Nowhere, which is now 13 years old. But you give your action star a deeper caring behind him, and it makes you as an audience member care as you go through this journey.
Yeah, dude. That like in Die Hard, when John McClane, he's banged up, he's got 2 bullets left in his gun, in his Beretta. He's got nothing left in his M5 that he took off of Nick, or whichever one of the guys that he shot. And he radios Carl, and he says, he's like, by the time this is over, you'll know who I am. Find my wife. He's like, tell her I'm sorry. She's heard me say I love you 1,000,000 times, but she's never heard me say I'm sorry. He's like, tell her I should have been more supportive. And when things started panning out for her, I should have been better. tell her I'm sorry. And he's like, you're going to tell her yourself, man. And it's like, whoa, man, you know, this emotion's coming out. And this guy all of a sudden is not, you know, goes from just, you know, not so your action star, with a third dimension. You know, he's not all just blood and bullets, you know, and brawn, you know, he's got a heart too. And he's got, you know, some emotions tied to the people around him. And, you know, that's that third dimension that makes your standard action film just elevate. And like you said, Arnold, you know, his movies were great. I think maybe True Lies was probably the
that's
closest
more modern
thing.
even that though. That's mid-90s.
Yeah. Yeah, that's whenever, that's probably,
and
could argue Cameron. That's his best action film not named Terminator.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, but The Man from Nowhere, man, certainly a good film worth watching. It's on Netflix right now. And don't be afraid because it's in Korean. Nothing makes me matter when someone says, "Oh, I don't want to read a movie." Some of my favorite films of all time are foreign language films, and so it just irritates me. I know when I hear someone say that. You're going to get an earful from me if you tell me you don't watch a movie because you have to read it. No.
Yeah, and then they'll go home and they'll put on fucking subtitles on the movie, right? Yeah.
Right.
I don't want to read it, you know.
Oh, but I can't hear it.
American, you know.
But yeah, but before we get too far into 2024, we thought we would kick off our bringing back the top 5 this year. Might be an every other week thing. Sometimes we'll do back-to-back weeks, but I always enjoy doing the top 5. I think we both did, and now we will throw our other co-host Long under the bus a little bit and say that he didn't always enjoy it because he had to do a little homework. But I always think they're fun. But it was a good idea to give it a rest. So we're going to bring it back this year, and we're going to kick it off with our top 5 movies we're most looking forward to this year and theaters in 2024. And I'll kick it off with my 2 honorable mentions. One honorable mention we don't know is coming out this year because if it was coming out, this would probably be my number 1. But I'm going to leave an honorable mention list, and that is Beyond the Spider-Verse because we just don't know. We don't have an updated release date yet from Sony. Being that it's January, I'm really starting to think it's going to be early next year. I'm kind of still holding out hope that we get it by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But we don't know. My other honorable mention is Alien Romulus. Big fan of this series. I think it's kind of cool that, it's going to take place in the same universe as Ripley's Alien, but not on the same planet or the same era. Like from what I was reading, I guess Romulus is kind of taking place within the general same time frame that Ripley's Aliens is going on. Only it's a different set of characters with Xenomorph somewhere else. So this movie has a certain curiosity to it. I mean, it's Alien. I'm like, hey, it's a franchise that I dig. Let's see what they can do with it, So until I see footage and I see more, I can't get too hyped about it.
Yeah.
But the general curiosity for Alien Romulus. And but those are the 2 I have as my honorable mention. And do you have any honorable mentions or are you just starting out with the 5?
Yeah. Actually Beyond the Spider-Verse, like you said, for the same reason, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. We don't know if it's even going to come out this year or not. It could be. But my gut tells me that it's going to get pushed again.
Yeah. So at number 5, I'll kick off number 5, and it's and Deadpool 3, and not because of Deadpool. I mean, I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan in the world. I think it's an okay character, but it's because Hugh Jackman's coming back as Wolverine. That's going to have my butt in the seats. And I could care less what Ryan Reynolds is doing as Deadpool, but you got Hugh coming back as Wolverine. I'm there. We just covered the Wolverine a couple weeks ago. He's been one of my favorite actors turned into a comic book character that I love all these years, and I'm excited to see him come back and for one last hurrah. And if you believe the rumors that are true that there might be a Daniel Radcliffe character as a young Wolverine with the passing of the torch in the film, I'm all there for that. I can dig that. We'll see how it all turns out when that movie hits theaters in July.
Yeah, for me, I've got Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire. Sorry, I feel like this movie is going to be enjoyable, but I don't know if it's going to be as good as Afterlife. But it's Ghostbusters. They've got some new uniforms, just like in Ghostbusters 2. There were some new uniforms that were marketed but not shown. But my kids are really looking forward to Ghostbusters, and it's going to be fun getting them back to the theater and hearing those sirens and hearing that Ray Parker Jr. theme song.
Yeah, I guess I should have put that on my list. But at number 4, I have this animated Transformers prequel called Transformers 1, which is apparently a prequel to the original 1984 animated series of some sorts.
Okay.
Again, a movie we don't have any footage from yet. We don't know a lot about, but Transformers is one of my favorite franchises of all time. And when I say favorite franchises, I'm not talking the recent live action films. I take those for what they are, but I'm just talking Transformers in general. And it's going to be cool to see Generation 1 Optimus and all those guys on the big screen in animated form when this movie hits in September or October. I think it comes out. I can't remember exactly, but Transformers 1 coming out later this year.
Yeah, it's definitely later. I've got Kingdom for the Planet of the Apes. It looks really good. We haven't seen much more than the teaser. So we'll see if I'm kind of anticipating it a little bit more after that. But, the previous Planet of the Apes films have been great. And I think this is going to be nothing short compared to those. So looking forward to it.
That's what I have at number 3 is a Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And I kind of could have had this at 2 or 1 even because I'm a huge fan of this series. I love going back to the 1960s film. In fact, in May, we might do another one of the 1960s films. The next one in the series as we gear up for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that's holding me back from this is no more Matt Reeves, no more Andy Serkis. So without those two involved, we'll see. I mean, the trailer looks great. But reading things I have read with Wes Ball, the director, and everything, he gets it, man. I guess he's spoken with Matt Reeves and they've talked about things, and hopefully he's able to carry on the torch from where War for the Planet of the Apes left off as we get to Kingdom here in a few months.
Yes, sir. For me, in this spot, I've got Godzilla X Kong. I think it's going to be loads of fun. My oldest is going to definitely want me to take him to the theater to go see it right when it comes out. Probably going to have to look for some early fan release showings, but Godzilla X Kong, man, if you know giant monsters, you just can't go wrong with.
We keep flipping back and forth here then, because that's my number 2. It's Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire. This Godzilla roll I've been on lately, continuing it, looking forward to it. I think there's a place in this world where you can have a really great, serious Godzilla film like Godzilla -1, but I'm all there for the popcorn fun too with Godzilla X Kong. And see how this all plays out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and exciting to go see it here in just and that one's much closer to some of these other ones. That's just about 6 or 7 weeks away or so. So not too far. Yeah. So that was so you're number 2. Yeah, we're number 2, right?
Yeah. I've got Furiosa. Want to see Ann Taylor-Joy and Chris Hemsworth continue on the Mad Max legacy. And I hope it's just like Mad Max Fury Road, where we feel like we just got shot out of a cannon and just, or fired out of the piston of an engine. I
feel like I had to catch my breath after Fury Road.
Man. It was just nonstop, man. I feel like this movie's got to be the same way. It's got to be.
That's my number 1. My number 1 is Furiosa. Man, I'm hyped for it. I'm hoping George Miller pulls off magic again. It's kind of a little bit, maybe a little bit back to not have Mad Max himself in it or no Tom Hardy or anything like that. But I have enough faith in the way the series is going back to 1979 to now. Why not? Why can't George Miller do it again? And make another fantastic movie.
Yeah, no, and my number 1, I've got Deadpool 3, got it a lot higher, but all those rumors about Jennifer Garner coming back to reprise Elektra, and Ben Affleck coming back to reprise Daredevil, and it's like all these other rumors. If they're true, it's gonna be crazy.
Yes.
So I hope they're true. Not that we need to see them again on screen, but just if that's the case, I think it's going to be loads of fun.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it's well done. But yeah, 2024, man, should be, cinema is still not 100% recovered from the COVID years, but I'd say it's probably, I'd argue that it's 80% back. And hopefully it just continues down that path, man. People go to theaters and go support cinema because, man, it's cool to have it streaming at home, but there's nothing like the experience of seeing a film on the big screen, And,
exactly.
So 2024 should be a lot of fun. And then we continue on through our 2024 shows with next week, man. We're going to go back and we're going to stay in the action genre for next week and take a look back at Harrison Ford's first turn as CIA agent Jack Ryan as we take a look at his film Patriot Games.
This won't be like anything you've ever done before, little brother.
Target leaving the palace now.
There's Daddy.
From the producer of The Hunt for Red October.
Get down!
Based on the best-selling novel, comes the summer's most explosive motion picture.
Buddy.
So, you just waded on in like John Wayne.
I couldn't just stand there and watch him shoot those people. It was rage. Pure rage.
A reluctant soldier.
They were moving him to Albany Prison on the Isle of Wight when it happened.
They are unarmed. We know he's escaped.
We think he's left the country.
In a war that isn't his.
What Ryan done can't be undone, so you should stop thinking about it.
I can't. There's never been a terrorist attack on American soil, Jack. These men are professionals. Personal revenge rarely plays into it.
But I killed his brother.
Let's do it.
A man fighting for everything he holds dear.
Where's Sally?
Let's sit down for a moment.
No, talk to me.
For justice.
I'm after the man who tried to kill my family. I want back in. Who are we looking for here? IRA terrorists or some ultra-violent faction of the IRA? This is who we should be looking for. We find her, we'll find them.
For freedom.
Where are you taking me? It's you who've taken us, Jack, into battle.
ETA, 35 seconds.
SAS could take out any one of these camps. Are you sure this is the same girl?
For family.
He's never gonna let us go, is he? I don't care what you have to do. You just get it.
For keeps.
Where's Sean Miller?
Get me hostage rescue at Quantico now.
Airborne support approaching target area.
Patriot Games.
Hey, this is a movie. It's been a while since I've seen this one. It's funny because I'm pretty familiar with Clear and Present Danger, right? And Patriot Games is, and of course we covered Hunt for Red October on the show. But Patriot Games is kind of the Jack Ryan film I kind of always forget. But then when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. I remember all this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to rewatch it this week and talk Patriot Games on the show next week. And then I always liked Harrison Ford's turn as Jack Ryan, and I'd always hoped he would have gotten to do a third film. And of course, we know that 9/11 prevented that from happening. That's why he never came back, because they could not do the film that would have taken place after Clear and Present Danger, because of they would have severely had to have changed the subplot of the book in order to pull it off on film. But we'll talk about more of that next week as to why that never happened. But should be a fun one, huh, Matt? Talk Patriot Games next week.
Oh yeah, man.
It was just James Earl Jones' birthday the other day, so it seems appropriate.
Oh my God, yeah.
We're doing a movie that he's in.
There we go. Yeah, that's good. That's definitely better than my pick that I had suggested. So yeah, if James Earl Jones, if he's in it, then let's do it. Let's do it, baby.
You didn't know he was in it, or you just forgot he was in it?
I'd never seen that I've never seen that
You
Jack
never
Ryan
seen
film.
Patriot Games?
No.
Really?
I've seen Clear and Present Danger. I've seen Air Force One.
How did you watch Clear and Air Force One's not a Jack Ryan film?
Well, yeah.
But how did you not?
I've seen.
How did you see Clear and Present Danger and not Patriot Games?
I don't know, man. Sometimes those movies, I think they were just kind of showing on cable one time, and I just didn't catch that one. But I remember Clear and Present Danger.
That's funny. All right. Well, that'll be next week on the show. And until then, the rebelradiopodcast.com for all your Rebel Radio needs, as always. And we thank you for listening, and we do appreciate it. And until next time, this has been Mark.
This has been Matt.
Remember, as always, just go there
and do it.